Alright, before we start this story, I want to read you guys a comment that came in from one of our recent videos. Here's what it says. I was with one ex for 4 years, and I wanted to marry her. One night out with friends, I saw her making out with another guy in a car at a red light. 3 days later, I told her I was going to visit my brother. Never said where he lived, just he lived in another state. That was 30 years ago, and she still doesn't know where I live. She's been married and divorced twice since then. She married the guy she cheated on me with and cheated on him as well. I've been happily married for the past 22 years. This comment hits different. 30 years ago, this guy saw his girl cheating, and instead of making a big scene or trying to work it out, he just disappeared. Clean break. No drama, no begging, no let's talk about this. Just gone. And look at the results. She's been through 2 marriages, clearly never learned her lesson since she cheated on the guy she left him for 2. Meanwhile, this man has been happily married for 22 years. 22 years. This is what we talk about all the time. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. This guy didn't need multiple chances or second opportunities to figure out she wasn't wife material. He saw what he needed to see and made his decision. The fact that she still doesn't know where he lives 30 years later? That's some serious commitment to moving on. That's how you handle betrayal, gentlemen. Clean, decisive, and permanent. If anyone have stories like these to share, please do in the comments. I will share them in my upcoming videos. Now, let's start the story. She said, I can't help it if other men find me irresistible. Maybe you should step your game up. After I saw her give her number to a random guy, I said, you're right. The next day, her name was off everything I paid for, her stuff was packed, and her key didn't work. She called me 23 times that day. I'm 34 male, and apparently I needed to step my game up according to Natalie. 27 female, my now ex-girlfriend of 3 years. Well, I stepped it up alright, just not in the way she expected. Saturday night we were at Copper Mill, this trendy bar downtown, celebrating her friend Amanda's promotion. Place was packed, typical weekend crowd. Good music, flowing drinks. Natalie looked great in this red dress that cost more than most people's rent. She always dressed to impress. Around 10 p.m., I was talking to some guy about sports when I noticed Natalie at the bar with some random dude. Tall guy, expensive suit, probably mid-30s, looked like he stepped out of a magazine. Nothing unusual there. Natalie attracted attention wherever we went, part of dating someone who looked like her. But then I saw her laugh at something he said. Lean in closer and pull out her phone. She typed something in, handed it to him, and he typed back. Then they both put their phones away, and she touched his arm while laughing again. I walked over, casual as could be. The guy saw me coming and made himself scarce real quick, smart move. What was that about? I asked, keeping my voice level. Natalie turned around with this smug look on her face. Oh, that. Some guy wanted my number, so I gave it to him. You gave him your number, I said. She shrugged like it was nothing. I can't help it if other men find me irresistible, Jake. Maybe you should step your game up. The way she said it, so dismissive, so entitled, like I should be grateful she even bothered with me. Amanda and 2 other friends were watching this whole exchange, some looking uncomfortable, others trying not to smile. You're right, I said. I should definitely step my game up. She smiled, thinking she'd won something. Good, I'm glad you finally get it. I grabbed my jacket, headed for the door. Natalie called after me asking where I was going, but I just kept walking. She'd find out soon enough. Update 1, next day. Sunday morning I woke up with crystal clear focus. Time to step my game up exactly like Natalie suggested. First thing I did was check our living situation. My apartment, my lease, my name only. Natalie had moved in about 18 months ago, but kept putting off getting added to the lease, said it was too much paperwork. Her loss. But here's the thing. Even though she wasn't on the lease, she'd been living there long enough to have tenant rights. Couldn't just kick her out legally, that would take weeks of proper notice. So I got creative, started with the financial support system. Natalie's car lease was in her name, but I'd been covering the payments for the past year because she said money was tight. Called the leasing company, explained I was no longer making payments on her behalf, effective immediately. They said they'd contact the primary lessee about payment arrangements. Next was her phone. She was on my family plan, saving her about $60 a month. Called the carrier, explained I needed to remove a line from my account. They said it would be effective at the end of the current billing cycle in 3 days. Car insurance was next. She was listed as a driver on my policy, but her own car wasn't covered under mine. She had her own policy for that. Removed her as an authorized driver from my insurance immediately. Then came the credit cards. She had authorized user cards on 2 of my accounts for emergencies and convenience. Called both banks, removed her authorization, canceled the physical cards. They said the cards would stop working within 24 hours. Gym membership, same story. She used my family membership plan. Called, canceled her access, effective immediately. The apartment was trickier. Since she had tenant rights, I couldn't change the locks or remove her stuff without proper legal process. But I could start preparing. Went to a storage facility, rented a unit for 6 months, paid in advance. Then I sat down and wrote her a letter, explaining that our relationship was over, that I would no longer be subsidizing any aspect of her lifestyle, and that she had 30 days to make other living arrangements as required by law. Professional, civil, and legally proper. Left the letter on the kitchen counter, where she'd see it when she got home from wherever she'd gone after the bar. Update 2, the reality check. Sunday evening, around 7 p.m., Natalie came home still wearing last night's dress, looking slightly hungover. I was sitting in the living room reading when she walked in. She saw the letter, immediately picked it up and read it. Her face went through about 5 different expressions: confusion, anger, disbelief, panic, then back to anger. "Jake, what is this?" she demanded, waving the letter. "It's a 30-day notice to vacate," I said calmly. "Also notice that I'm no longer covering any of your expenses, effective immediately." "You can't be serious." "Dead serious, Natalie. You told me to step my game up last night, so I did some evaluation. Turns out I was subsidizing someone who gives her number to random men and tells me I'm not good enough." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." "That's exactly what you meant, Natalie. You made it clear other men are more interesting than me. So go be irresistible on someone else's dime." She tried her credit card to order food delivery an hour later. Declined. Tried the second one, same result. That's when the first round of panic calls started. "Jake, my cards aren't working," she said when I answered. "That's correct, Natalie. You're no longer an authorized user on my accounts." "How am I supposed to eat? How am I supposed to function?" "The same way adults function, Natalie. Use your own money, your own cards, your own resources." She hung up and tried calling back immediately. I sent it to voicemail. Update 3. 2 days later. Monday morning was when reality really started hitting. Natalie's car payment was due, and the leasing company called her directly asking about payment arrangements. She came to me in a panic. "Jake, they're saying if I don't make the payment by Wednesday, they'll start repossession proceedings." "Sounds like you should make the payment then, Natalie." "With what money? I don't have that kind of cash saved up." "That's a budgeting problem." "Natalie, not a me problem. You've been paying it for a year, you can't just stop." "Actually, I can, Natalie. Watch me." She spent Monday frantically calling friends trying to borrow money. Apparently Amanda lent her enough to cover the car payment, but made it clear it was a one-time thing. Tuesday, her phone service got suspended. She tried calling me from Amanda's phone. "Jake, my phone doesn't work," she said. "That's because you're no longer on my plan, Natalie. You'll need to get your own service." "How am I supposed to get my own service without money?" "Figure it out, Natalie. You're irresistible. Remember, maybe one of your admirers can help." Wednesday, she tried a different approach. Showed up at my office during lunch. Security called me, said there was a woman in the lobby requesting to see me. I went downstairs, found Natalie looking stressed and desperate. "Jake, please," she said. "I can't afford all this stuff on my own, you know that." "Then you shouldn't have told me to step my game up, Natalie. This is what stepping my game up looks like." "I'm sorry about Saturday night. I was drunk, I was being stupid." "You were being honest, Natalie. For the first time in our relationship, you told me exactly what you thought of me." "That's not true. You told me other men find you irresistible, and I should step my game up." Mission accomplished. I walked back to my office, left her standing in the lobby. Update 4. 1 week later. By the end of week 1, Natalie was staying with Amanda, burning through what little money she had trying to maintain her lifestyle. The gym membership cancellation hit her hard. She'd been going there daily, mostly to see and be seen. Amanda called me Thursday night sounding frustrated. "Jake, this is getting ridiculous. Natalie is driving me crazy. She won't look for her own place, just keeps talking about how to fix things with you." "There's nothing to fix, Amanda," I said. She told me exactly what she thought of me Saturday night. She made one stupid comment. "Jake, you're destroying her entire life over it." "I'm not destroying anything, Amanda. I'm just no longer subsidizing it. There's a difference. You're being vindictive. I'm being logical. Amanda, why would I financially support someone who thinks other men are more irresistible than me?" Friday, Natalie tried showing up at the apartment building, but couldn't get past the front desk. They called me, said someone was requesting access, claiming to live there. "She's not on the lease," I told them. "She's a guest who's been staying here, but she's moving out. Don't let her up without my explicit permission." The weekend was quiet, but Monday brought a new level of desperation. Natalie's mother, Carol, called me directly. "Jake," Carol said, "this is getting out of hand. Natalie is falling apart. You need to work this out." "Carol, with respect, your daughter told me other men find her irresistible, and I should step my game up. I stepped my game up by stepping away. She made a mistake." "Jake, everyone makes mistakes. Some mistakes have bigger consequences than others, Carol. This is one of them. You're being cruel." "I'm being consistent, Carol. I don't subsidize people who give their numbers to random men." Update 5, 2 weeks later. The 30-day notice period was half over, and Natalie still hadn't made any real progress on finding her own place. She was bouncing between Amanda's couch and a few other friends, but wearing out her welcome everywhere. She tried one last desperate play, showed up at the apartment building with a locksmith, claiming she'd lost her key and needed to get in. Smart building management called me first. "Sir, there's a woman here with a locksmith saying she needs access to your apartment." "Don't let them in," I said. "She doesn't live here anymore, and I haven't authorized any locksmith services." The locksmith apparently told Natalie he couldn't work without property owner authorization and left. She called me immediately, screaming, "Jake, that was my stuff in there. I have a right to it. You have a right to collect your belongings during reasonable hours with advance notice, Natalie. You don't have a right to bring locksmiths to my apartment. I need my things now. Send me a text with a date and time that works for you, Natalie. I'll be present while you collect your belongings, and then you can move on with your irresistible life." She hung up but texted me an hour later asking to come by Wednesday evening. I agreed. Wednesday, she showed up with Amanda and a small moving truck. It took them 3 hours to pack everything that belonged to her. I supervised to make sure nothing of mine disappeared, but otherwise stayed out of their way. When they finished, Natalie stood in the empty bedroom looking around like she couldn't believe it was really happening. "Jake," she said quietly, "this doesn't have to be the end. We can work through this. You told me to step my game up, Natalie. This is what that looks like. Find someone who thinks you're worth competing for." Amanda drove away with Natalie and all her stuff. I changed the locks that night, just to be safe. Final update. 1 month later. It's been a month since I stepped my game up, and the transformation has been remarkable. Not just in my life, but apparently in Natalie's understanding of how the world actually works. She found a studio apartment across town, but had to get her parents to co-sign because her credit wasn't strong enough on its own. Heard through Amanda that she's working extra hours trying to cover all the expenses she never realized I was handling. Car payment, phone bill, insurance, gym membership, streaming services, everything adds up when you're paying it yourself. Turns out being irresistible doesn't cover the cost of living. She tried reaching out a few times through mutual friends, always with messages about how sorry she was, how she'd learned her lesson, how she wanted another chance. My response was always the same. She got exactly what she asked for. The beautiful irony is that Saturday night comment was supposed to motivate me to try harder, compete for her attention, prove my worth to her. Instead, it motivated me to realize my worth and stop subsidizing someone who didn't appreciate it. Amanda stopped trying to mediate after realizing Natalie wasn't actually looking for solutions, just someone to fix her problems for her. Even her closest friends got tired of the constant complaining about how expensive everything was. Last week I saw her at the grocery store using coupons, looking stressed, counting items in her cart. She saw me and waved tentatively. I nodded politely and continued shopping. No drama, just two people who used to know each other. The guy from Saturday night never called her, by the way. Amanda mentioned he was married, just collecting numbers for entertainment. Natalie waited by her phone for days for a text that never came, while I was busy stepping my game up by removing financial support from someone who thought I wasn't good enough. She wanted me to compete harder, fight for her attention, prove how irresistible she was. Instead, she learned that some men don't compete, they just walk away and let people figure out their own lives. The lesson here is simple. When someone tells you to step your game up, take them seriously. Sometimes stepping your game up means stepping back from people who don't value what you bring to their lives. Natalie is learning to be irresistible on her own budget now. Meanwhile, I stepped my game up in ways she never imagined by refusing to subsidize someone who thought other men were more interesting than me. Sometimes the best revenge is just stopping the things you were doing out of kindness and letting people handle their own responsibilities.